Good morning, LinkedIn. Jeremy Blubaugh here, Chief Prospecting Officer and owner of Flip Marketing, where it's our goal to help flip your odds into favor when it goes to your client and prospect outreach. And today, I have a good friend and client, Andrew Allen, on LinkedIn Live. How you doing, Andrew?
Hey, Jeremy. Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and before we get into it, an interesting fact about Andrew, if you don't know him, he's actually aspiring to be the world's #1 ultimate Frisbee player. So um, next time I come to South Carolina, he told me ultimate Frisbee and beers afterwards, the game plan. So
That's right. That's how most ultimate Frisbee players hydrate. So yeah, you're already in tune with the sport for sure.
yeah, that's my type of sport, right? Softball and beer afterwards. That's the way I always liked it. So
Yeah, exactly.
alrighty, well, we're going to get into it here. So as you saw, I put an agenda out there. We're going to talk a lot about kind of this prospecting, and as you can see in the background, the reason I wanted to have Andrew on here and his team, they do things a little bit differently. And you can see his background. Got a spaceship there. He's got the sky. I'm assuming it has to kind of relate to go to the moon. They even did a video last year for their clients and their prospects, kind of taking all this theme. So the first thing I want to get into, Andrew, is you've obviously kind of gone into this route with your team. What happens when cold calling doesn't work? And I know you guys are calling on big enterprise sales, so sometimes it just doesn't work. So what's kind of been your strategy? How have you guys implemented that?
Yeah, exactly. No, that's a very good point. I do think, and I would even expand that, not just cold calling, but cold outreach in general, right? I mean, I did a lot of cold calling at my previous job. This job, it's more cold emailing, but same concept, right? I mean, we're still reaching out to people who are important, who they've got a lot on their plate. They've got a lot of things in the air that they're juggling, and you are unimportant until you can solve their problem. But even just saying that is not enough. You've got to capture their attention first, which is obviously part of what you specialize in at CoinFlip. But I think we've keyed in on some strategies that have worked for capturing attention. Funny that you bring this is our Zoom studio, actually, where we took an office in our building and transformed it. Just when the pandemic hit, we realized we were going to have to do more virtual meetings. And this kind of just plays in the philosophy of cold outreach and really client engagement overall. We said we could either do a boring Zoom meeting like everyone else, set up in a boardroom, sit around a long table and talk about business metrics, or we could come on screen in space with these space helmets. And so it's totally goofy. We realize that it's corny and silly, and we admit that. But it's also extremely powerful for our clients to remember that meeting, and also tie what we're trying to communicate to them to a visual aspect.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely love that when you showed me that you were doing in the video you guys created. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
boy, like, and I think about it. I mean, I'm not a busy CEO of some of the companies that you're calling after, account executive, but as I grow my business and I have chief on my LinkedIn profile, I get outreached all the time, and
Yeah.
I would say 99.9% of them are the same. I feel like anytime you get like a personal connection request, the spam, the messages right coming after like 20 minutes later, right?
Yeah,
I'm gonna
exactly. You
I'm
can
gonna
time
accept
it
this
up.
person. Yeah. So I love that you're doing it. You're right. What I teach my clients at CoinFlip Market is before there's a decision, there's engagement. Before there's engagement, there's attention. And if you can't get someone's attention, like what you guys are doing with the spacesuits, even if it's goofy or silly, it's got to be something that gets their attention and say, okay, that stopped me in my tracks. I'm listening. You got me. Go. So
Yeah, exactly. And it's part of that idea too, when you talk about cold calling and cold outreach. If the 80-20 rule is true, which I'm assuming most people tuning in are familiar, but it's that, 80% of your business comes from 20% of your clients.
mhm.
If that's true, then 80% of your prospecting efforts need to go to those clients that could become your top 20%, right? And if you're putting in 80% of your prospecting effort hopefully that's not just picking up the phone and leaving a generic voicemail or sending an email template. That's got to be different. It's got to, you talk about this, it's got to include their name. It's got to include something, hopefully personal about them. And then also something relevant, right? Where you want to be friendly, and we want to reach out and we want to make friends and make connections. But at the end of the day, we also need to be relevant to them as a business solution.
Yeah, and I think you hit it right on there, right? It's the personalization, it's humanizing the process, right? Let them
Yeah.
know that you're not a bot just sending out this automated message. And, I can tell when someone puts some time behind it to send a personalized outreach now. It's pretty
Right.
easy to spot because it doesn't happen very often. But when it does, you realize it. And I always respond to those people and like, hey, look, give me a quick follow up. What do you actually do? And see if it's worth. I don't want to waste your time, and let's chat. And if it is, I'll chat with them. But I mean, I would say 1 out of 500 outreaches I get are actually, hey, you actually went into my profile, read about me. I just got one a few days ago that I responded. They used my picture in an email, like, hey, here's you on my podcast. We want to have you on. I'm like, that was great. Like, I'll respond to that because you used me and you
Yeah,
personalized this.
absolutely. Yeah. And we've unfortunately, I think some of those lessons we've learned them the hard way. I remember when I first started here, we were marketing a lower cost sachet and going after a completely different group of retailers. And so I kind of had all this blue ocean in front of me, and I came up with this really quirky, sharp, clever mailer that had, I mean, I was incorporating like cactus and scent and all these different things. And I included live samples so they could smell it, and it went in the mail. I mean, I thought it was a dead ringer. Sent it out to like 100 of the retailers that we most wanted to connect with. I think I got 3 responses. And it wasn't because it wasn't clever, it wasn't good, it wasn't relevant. It was all those things, but it was not personalized. So I think that has a lot to do with your success rate and your, the way you break through.
So circle back to the spacesuits being different, being goofy.
Yeah,
Tell how many people said, you know what, we're not dealing with these guys. They're goofy. They're not unprofessional.
0.
I'm assuming 0, right?
Right.
I mean, what I always tell people then, Andrew, another line who you're prospecting, is human. He watches Game of Thrones, he watches college football, he laughs, he has a family.
Yeah.
Like, he's just not all business all the time. And if you can find that human connection to put a smile on their face and say, okay, yeah, you're different, that guard goes down so much faster. Even if you are a professional 100% of the time and don't take a different approach, that guard's going to be up when you do get the meeting because you haven't lowered it yet. At least
Yeah.
that's what I found in my experiences. So
Yeah. And we're doing this for our long-term clients and first-time clients alike. So when we set a first time meeting with someone, and we'll change this up, we've done like a tiki bar theme, and we've done like a fall kind of harvest barn theme before. But we'll lead in just right away with that. And there have been some awkward moments right there at the beginning, but it typically takes about 10 seconds, and there's just a lot of laughter and connection right away. And also
and
obviously memorability. I mean, that's
my guess the awkwardness is coming from your end, not necessarily their end, right? I mean,
yeah. I feel pretty awkward wearing a reflective onesie on camera. So I actually, yeah, this is, I spared our LinkedIn, community the full, but I mean, we do have the full spacesuits. So yeah, it's pretty fun.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it broke the ice, it got their attention, made it laugh, and I'm assuming the next 10, 15 minutes that conversation went so much more smooth because you broke that ice. And guess what? They probably talked about it afterwards. Like, man, that was great. Like, we should be doing that, and they probably don't, but
Oh, no
I
doubt.
love it.
They went and told all their coworkers, "You'll never believe what this guy just did on Zoom." And we've gotten follow-up emails that this was the best Zoom call ever. This is the most memorable call ever. Things like that. And the reality is, we get a lot of credit for that, but really it was just being intentional about how can we elevate the client experience. How do we not be like everyone else sitting in a bland conference room and diving right into the numbers? So it's not a stroke of creative genius or anything like that. It's just like one more notch of intentionality with customers, and anyone can do that.
Yeah, I think a lot of marketing, what it's all about is, and what I try to teach people is, what is everyone else in your role doing? You know, okay, let's talk about that. And what can we just shift? Maybe it's a tiny little shift, or maybe it's a big shift, but let's go with something completely different. And to your point, we went into this world where everybody was shifting from in-person to video. And you said, you know what? Everybody's going to be professional. We're not going to do it. I should say professional. We're not going to take the, hey, this is me in my suit and tie and all buttoned up. We're going to make it fun. And I'm pretty sure, especially during the rough patch, we had 2020. No one knew what's going to happen in the world, but business still needed to happen. It was a sigh of relief to the end user.
Yeah. And for those listening to this that are going, I am not about to put on a space helmet and a spacesuit, that seems like jumping across the canyon. I would say you don't have to. But taking that Zoom analogy one step further, um, maybe it's just wearing a t-shirt that says team, like, whatever the client's name is, or what's a little step that you can take just to experiment with this, because I get that something like that is taking a big leap. We didn't get there right away. We've been gradually upping the ante time after time, and what we've found is bolder is better. And so we didn't start out with the space suits either. We just gradually started thinking more intentionally about creating the, kind of the ultimate Zoom or client meeting experience.
Yeah, you heard it, LinkedIn. Next stop, they're doing their Zoom call from the moon, the International Space Station.
That would be awesome. That'd be a great outcome from all this.
I'm just thinking of all the things in my head that could go wrong during that Zoom call.
Yeah, exactly.
Andrew starts floating off into space.
Yeah.
Nice seeing you, Andrew.
Yeah, you think we have internet connectivity issues now?
Yeah.
That would be tough.
So, but I think you're right, though. It doesn't have to be a big, bold statement, because some people might say that's just completely out of my comfort zone.
Right.
It could just be, hey, I was just thinking this. It's how many people before their Zoom call actually maybe got something in the mail from you that they could wear during the call. So maybe you could send them a hat.
Yeah.
Wear that.
We
You could
did that.
send them a shirt. You could, whatever it is, just to kind of increase that client experience that they're normally getting from everyone else.
Absolutely. For our spring summer launch last year, we went with an island theme, and we included like a little lei inside of their sample box. So they kind of joined in on the theme, and they didn't have to go out there. They didn't have to be crazy, but they put that on, and it just kind of it makes the mood a little bit different. It's fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Perfect. So I got to talk to you because I know you write a lot about on LinkedIn about scent marketing. So obviously scent can be a very powerful tool when it comes to your marketing. Talk a little more about how you guys incorporate that. Now, obviously, not every business can incorporate scent marketing. Obviously, someone who's shipping cameras probably can't get into the scent marketing thing, but how you guys use your business, the power, how it creates that memorable moment.
Yeah. So I guess my clientele are large chain retailers in the U.S. And really what our product does is it helps them to create a scent marketing presence in their stores, because our product is actively scented. When their customers enter into the stores, we say uh, you can choose to not look at things. Heck, all right, even music in the stores nowadays, don't we just kind of tune it out? I mean, we know it's there, but we're not paying attention. If I asked you what 5 songs you heard in the grocery store last week, you wouldn't be able to tell me. But our noses are always on, and it's a sense, especially within marketing, that really not everyone is capitalizing on, and so we help retailers do that, and it drives sales growth. But I realize that my clientele, or even folks who have big decision making ability within chain retail, that's a pretty small group, right? Um, you can expand that scent marketing idea far beyond just chain retailers. It's the reason that hotels have signature scents. It's the reason that when you go into a Nike store, it's going to smell a certain way. It's the reason we describe that new car smell, right? It's all around us. We just don't realize that it's happening, which is also kind of the beauty of it. So, I think a lot of business owners, or even just folks thinking about their own brand, like, as weird as it is to say, the way you look and the way you sound are part of your personal brand. So why isn't the way that your space smells, that also needs to be a part of your personal brand?
Yeah.
And that's something that clients, it may not be something that they ever mention or really consciously key in on, but I can tell you that if it's a negative experience on the scent side, then they're definitely gonna remember that. So it's kind of weird and awkward, but it is true.
Yeah, I'm just trying to go back through my most recent retail experiences, and um, like the smell of cookies um, in a
Yeah,
bakery or things of those natures. I know you mentioned hotels. Is it DoubleTree that always has the cookies in the lobby?
right, right.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's part of their marketing. They know that when you walk in, you smell those cookies, and you see those cookies, like it just knows you're in a DoubleTree. And they've made it part of their brand and their marketing strategy.
Yeah.
So
They
to
also
elaborate on, oh
house. A
yeah,
lot of times they'll throw
oh
cookies
yeah,
in the oven at an open house to create that,
good point.
and that's scent marketing right there. So it's happening all around. It's pretty useful in most businesses. It may not be like a core part of your overall strategy, but it's that little touch, that little extra quarter turn that could be the difference between someone having an extremely positive experience or one that was just eh.
Yeah, and it goes to the post. I think you were in the Atlanta airport a few months back, and you posted about Starbucks, right? I mean, they talk about a company that uses scent marketing to the T, like
Yeah,
especially in an airport, like you can smell that when you get off the plane. You're like, I gotta get me a Starbucks.
exactly. They've perfected it for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you talk about these big retailers, when they use it, do you recommend for them to kind of, hey, I'm going to put your product to close to a product that's not selling as well, so they can potentially boost? Like, how do you kind of recommend that they use scent marketing?
Mm,
Because I'm thinking of a big box company,
sure.
just throw Target out there. They may not even think about this type of marketing. I'm sure someone within Target does, but with an
Mhm.
organization as a whole, they're probably not thinking about it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the folks that we talk to are category managers or category buyers. So the way that works is they are responsible for a certain area of merchandise in the store. Most of the times that's the candle and home fragrance buyer, but it could be the air care buyer, it could be the impulse buyer, it could be like included as a larger part of home decor. And what you touched on earlier, we actually have a name for that. It's called the halo effect, because active scent does draw people in, and even if they don't make a purchase on that product that's throwing the scent, their eyeballs are going to be drawn to surrounding products naturally. And we've seen Fresh Scents and Sparkle City boost the sales of surrounding product that's merchandised on the same shelves. But the number one piece of advice that we give to buyers when they choose to push the chips in on scent marketing is to just display it in a prominent location. The most successful retailers typically merchandise on an end cap or a side cap. So that's, if you think about being in a retail store, if you've got the aisle, the end cap is that bookend on the end, right next to what we call the racetrack or the flow of traffic in the store. And so the closer you can get that scent to the flow of traffic, the more customers that are going to peel off. They were going for the milk in the back, but all of a sudden they smell something they just can't resist, and they stop in and purchase.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking off the top of my head because I deal with a lot of financial advisors. That smell when you walk into their office, can they consistently throughout the years keep it the same? And I'm assuming most financial advisors aren't even thinking about that as a brand within their company. It's an idea, a wow moment, you might say, but it's kind of a different type of wow moment.
Yeah, and that's what an easy and fun thing to pass on to your receptionist or your personal assistant.
Mhm.
Hey, and they're typically in charge of that space, like creating that welcoming space for the client, right? Hey, go find a scent that you think is broadly appealing and one that you also personally, enjoy and can get behind. And let's make sure that, for a couple hours a day we have a candle burning in here, or even a sachet beneath the desk. I mean, there are all different kinds of ways to scent a room, but you can create that signature scent, and people walk in and they go, smells nice in here, and
Yeah.
that's just one little extra part of the client experience that you can enhance and that you can
Yeah.
outsource. You don't have to
Yeah.
pick it out. I wouldn't trust
Yeah.
myself to pick it out, and I work in fragrance industry. I would definitely rely on someone who's a little bit more well versed in that. Yeah.
I would be like, how come every prospect coming in is leaving within like 5 minutes? I don't understand. Well, the potpourri you picked out kind of smells like dog. Oh,
Right. Yeah.
what too, and it too, like it goes back to kind of activating what we were talking about before you jumped online, activating that reticular activated system. Like you smell that smell in your financial advisor's office or wherever you're marketing, then you smell it somewhere else. Like that system's going to go off and it's going to make you think of that smell and where you smelled it. Like, oh yeah, I smelled it in Andrew Allen's office last week when I was in there. And
Yeah.
for an outsource for probably going to cost you what, $3 to $5, like you just kind of created free advertising because they're thinking about you. So
Absolutely. And if you're a wholesaler listening to this, what an easy value add for your
yeah,
financial advisors out there. Hey, if I mean, you want to be delicate in the way that you phrase that. You don't want to say, "Hey, your office stinks,"
walking in
but if
late.
it's
Yeah,
but if it's more of a generic question, like, "Hey, have you ever thought about how the way your office smells, what that communicates about your brand? Have you picked a signature scent for your office?" What a
yeah,
thought-provoking question to ask your clients, and a free value add that would help them, enhance their business just a little bit.
yeah. And to your point, I mean, I'm assuming that'd be the first time they've ever asked that question specifically from a wholesaler. So,
Yeah,
um,
I would think so. Exactly.
alrighty. So we got a few more minutes here. I want to circle back to this concept of what you talk about, the 80-20 rule, because I think it's important. We're spending most of your time kind of going after those big key accounts that can be game changers. Talk about I think maybe a few other ideas that's helped you open the door that said, hey, that was unique, to get their attention to start that conversation. Because I think for the people listening in today, they're always looking kind of for some more ideas to say, hey, what worked, what didn't work.
Yeah, yeah. So I would say, well, an easy starting point would be, having worked with coin flip marketing. That was a way for us to really target some of our top tier clients and just go, okay, what does someone else know that we don't know? And I think, just having the humility and just I mean, it's just a realistic thing that you should ask yourself. I'm having to deal with all kinds of different things, from shipping timelines to helping our brand team narrow down on new scents to bring in for the season, to managing current client relationships. And so prospecting, new business is a small pie slice of my job responsibility. Why wouldn't I ask someone who has dialed in just, their entire expertise is creating a memorable and personal client experience and bringing in new business that way? So working with you definitely opened up our eyes to some new ideas on how to reach out, and using the wow mailer generated a great percentage of responses for us, especially compared to everything that we've done in the past. I think something else that we've done that was effective is we dialed up our consistency, um, and frequency, and just realized that that's not an excuse to send subpar emails or leave subpar voicemails or anything like that. But I do think we've been more willing to bring some a level 8 outreach, make a level 8 outreach uh, 4 times a month instead of making a level 10 outreach 1 time a month. I think that consistency helps because you never know where someone is when they receive, a cold outreach from you. It could be the best cold outreach in the world, but if their hair's on fire with supply chain issues, you're just not going to get the time of day from them. Now, if you catch them on a Friday afternoon when they're all caught up with everything they've had to achieve and they're noodling on new ways to grow their business and an email comes across from you, you bet they're going to read that and investigate that. And the only way to catch people in those moments is just to be consistent. I wouldn't say annoying or over the top or too many times, but I think for everyone's business, we kind of know what that right amount is.
Yeah, and I think you're right on. I mean, I'm a big believer, 4 8s are probably better than 110. I think 4 times 8 is 32. So 32 is greater than 10. But it's the consistency, seeing your name, but how consistently you're being different. Because a level 8, and I know your level 8's probably like most people's level 20. So if you can start this process and start to consistently do it, and where I'm going with this is you become more and more creative, you become a better copywriter, you become a better presenter, you become better in front of the camera, and it shows up through consistency. And they're like, wow, this person's different. And when they finally do on that Friday afternoon, you know what? Andrew's been trying. I've seen his emails. I read this one, and it talks about, hey, we can help you grow your business, or whatever the email says, right? And okay, you got me now, Andrew. So
yeah. So what have you seen from what's the newest thing you've seen from a client outreach perspective that's been working?
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of always kind of taking the game up to the next level, and I learned probably, 4 or 5 months ago, I came across this idea of using video, but using video by mail. And there's actually a company called Printavision, where you actually can order them to your house. I can either do the videos, but most of the time I ask the clients to do the videos. We upload the client's video, make a very personalized video front cover, slap the logo on the back, send it to this individual. And when they get it in the mail, there's a picture of them saying, hey, on the front of the Wall Street Journal, or whatever the picture is, right? That doesn't matter, but it gets their attention. They open it up and it's a message of that salesperson or that business delivering the value add to the client. That one's been a home run as of lately. It's worked very well. I think maybe you guys even did it. So that's kind of what I've been seeing, what I'm doing. I'm actually going through the process right now of teaching people how to actually automate, doing some more personalized. So think about it from a wholesaler standpoint that we deal with in the world we both came from. You leave that meeting with that big prospect or that big client. I'll write the handwritten thank you note, on Friday. Friday comes along, your kid's sick, and it never gets done. There's a company that I've been teaching called Thanks.io that you can, with a click of a button within your Salesforce, HubSpot, whatever you're using, boom, a handwritten note goes out on your behalf. It takes time, 3 to 4 hours up front to do the work to set it up. But once it's set up, that personalized automated outreach is a game changer. I'm actually speaking on a call with a wholesaler and about 50 financial advisors next week to talk about how do you actually do this, because I think most people would do it, they just don't know the steps or really don't even know the tools that are out there for them to implement something like this.
Well, let me bust a myth by asking you a question about that, because I want to go back to the video mailer. I mean, when I hear that, it sounds like you're sending a mini TV out to a bunch of prospects. That sounds expensive, is it?
No, I mean, the brochure is like $40. The stickers that you put on the front is, call it $10, front and back, so 5 a piece. So there's putting it 50. Cost to ship it, depending on where you're shipping it from, East Coast to West Coast, it might cost you $12 if you're shipping from East Coast maybe $8, so $60.
And you got to ask yourself, is that $60? Would I spend $60 to meet with that person? If it's a yes, which if you're sending it to them, it should be a yes, then go ahead and send it. Now, can you send one every week? Okay, that becomes not sustainable, but usually that first one or couple will break through. So
and think about it. So let's say it's $60 to get their attention, and they do give you the meeting, and it is a big box retailer that says, we're going to put you on the shelves of every store in America. I
Yeah.
mean, the return on investments in the hundreds, maybe millions percent, right? Because
Right.
I don't know, 60 to $3 million in revenue divided by 60. I'm not good at math right now. Well, that's a big percentage return on investment.
It is.
So, and it's different. It thinks, and it's going to get that individual's attention. So I think it's well worth the investment for $60 to try something like that.
Absolutely. No doubt.
Well, perfect. We're here at 11:30. Andrew, thanks so much for jumping on LinkedIn Live. I hope the audience learned something. You want any creative prospecting ideas, feel free to reach out to myself. Andrew's live on LinkedIn as well all the time, or posting on LinkedIn. He puts some great ideas out there. So thanks again, Andrew, for having me, and have a great rest of the week.
Yeah. Thanks, Jeremy. I
Yeah,
enjoyed
no
it.
problem. Yeah, thanks.